On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Dimension Hatross
by Voivod.
Yes. They're from Canada. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We love metal, and we talk about it. Today, we're talking about the album Dimension Hatross by the, I guess, kind of famous. They're fairly well-known.
They're pretty famous.
Fairly well-known, fairly influential Canadian thrash/progressive band Voivod.
They're French Canadian.
Yes, French Canadian specifically, amongst a number of famous French Canadian bands.
Indeed.
So we'll talk a little bit more about them later because you actually have a pretty good story involving them as well. First, though, what's up? How you doing?
You know, and it's been fairly uneventful.
Yeah, I was struggling to come up with like shit that has happened in the last week that I wanted to talk to you about.
Nothing's really gone on.
Yeah, it's been kind of a slow, strange week, but I did find some stuff to talk about. So I finished watching True Detective season 3.
Sure,
it's really good. Not quite as good as the first season. If you're out there and maybe you watched the first season of True Detective and you're wondering, should I get back into it? Because you probably skipped season 2 as well. Like I feel a lot of people did. They got a few episodes and went, well, Colin Farrell's dead. I'm done watching this.
Spoilers.
I'm pretty sure he dies in like the 3rd episode or something.
All right.
I can't remember. At any rate, it was still pretty good. A few callbacks to season 1 actually that were somewhat unexpected, and generally it gets more of the vibe of season 1 that people liked, right, without repeating a lot of the same stuff.
Well, that's good.
There are some notes that feel similar, but especially the ending is quite different than the ending of season 1. So I enjoyed my time with that. It was good. Good choice. Good use of my time. Yep.
You know, I was going to ride the motorcycle here tonight.
You didn't, though.
And no, because I fell asleep.
Oh.
And I fell
at the wheel.
Yes, I fell asleep at the wheel. No.
You knew you were going to fall asleep at the wheel, so you figured, well, it'd be better for me to fall asleep at the wheel than for me to fall asleep on a motorcycle.
Right. Well, I fell asleep in my living room is what I did.
Okay.
And then I woke up and I'm like, I'm still too groggy to ride the motorbike.
I suppose. Well, you know, it's a lovely day out.
It is.
The sun's shining. Perfect time to take a nap in the living room or something.
I'm such an old man. It's such an old man thing to do.
I would do that shit too. If I had like a very nap-worthy living room. I feel like I don't have a super nap-worthy living room.
Yours is bigger than mine. Your living room is bigger than my living room.
Really?
Yeah.
I suppose. I don't know. I've not been to your house.
No. You know, a lot of people haven't been to my house. I have a friend of mine who calls it Brigadoon. That it only exists on the fourth sunset of every... Yeah.
You have to look at sunset, you'll see a green flash, and that's when you have to get there. It's like Davy Jones's locker.
Yep.
Something that did happen over the weekend, longtime listeners of the podcast might remember I used to have a roommate back in the day in the old apartment. His name was Leaf. He came to town for the weekend, and we hung out, played some video games, and went to the bar that night after I had dragged him to the record store earlier that day. And I got some new vinyls. I got Emperor of Sand by Mastodon. I think it was My Arms Your Hearse by Opeth, and then The Sciences, the new album by Sleep.
Nice.
Very much stoner metal band.
Indeed.
And then while we were at the bar that night, I queued up a little bit of Mastodon to play on the Touch Tunes, on the Touch Tunes jukebox. So I got to listen to some Mastodon and also some Every Time I Die that I queued up. I did queue up some Wonder Years, but I never heard that. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but I never heard that before we left.
And for those of you who aren't longtime listeners, that was glossed over. Yes, Kale and Leaf used to live together.
Yeah. His dad used to call our apartment the garden. So that was fun.
Because it was Kale and Leaf.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And their buddy Cabbage used to live here as well.
Yep, Cabbage used to live there. Our friend Tree.
Mm-hmm.
He would show up every once in a while.
Foliage.
My acquaintance Bush.
Herb.
Was there. Well, no, Herb was up the hill.
Okay, all right.
And people would play football with him. I'm speaking of
Herb
the
Parker.
Herb Parker
Yeah,
Stadium
exactly.
at Minot State University. Yeah, it's just we're already out of stuff to talk about.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's strange. We can usually keep on going for
Forever.
10 minutes.
You had your first remote last week.
Yeah.
And then I have remotes this week.
Yeah.
They're sending me to the circus.
Yes, they're finally making good on your parents' threat.
Yeah.
That every parent made for some reason. I've always thought that's so fucked up. Yeah. Threatening to sell your kids to something.
The circus, yeah.
That's just I've
Don't
always
start acting right.
thought that was just like insane.
Sell you to the circus.
Like as soon as I was old enough to know like that's not a thing you can do. It was like, why would you ever threaten to do that in the first place, though? Like we're gonna give you away because you're being shitty.
Just to know you're a bad kid and I don't love you. Just setting the record straight here.
just to really let them know how you feel. See, I feel like I was a good kid anyway, mostly out of fear from threats that my sisters made on behalf of my parents that my parents would never have ever made good on.
Sure, of course not.
My sisters simply told me the things that would happen to me if I misbehaved, and I didn't do those things, despite the fact that none of those threats were credible.
This is why when Kale's sister goes to hug him, he flinches.
Yeah, having older sisters can be rough, but I love them. They're fantastic,
Of
but
course.
Man, they were. It's well, I mean, you go back to the not that it can be uncomfortable to talk about Louis C.K. a little bit these days,
Sure.
but to go back to the old Louis C.K. joke, young boys fuck things up, young girls are fucked up.
Yeah.
Like there's some just wacky shit that they would tell me, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but it's because it's true. If you've got daughters, you probably know.
Oh yeah.
You've got a gaggle of daughters.
I have 4 daughters.
You have 4 daughters.
Yeah.
You know the how messed up little girls can be very well.
Indeed.
Oh God. There was something else that came to mind. Oh, like the only punishment that I ever really got given by my parents was typically. I'm sure I was spanked a couple of times.
Sure.
Not a lot. Just
As a child.
Yeah, as a child. To be clear, as a child.
As a child.
I don't recall ever being spanked very much. I think that was pretty much sort of like the last straw type deal.
Right.
Mostly what would happen is I would get sent to the corner, and that was pretty, to me, that was pretty bad punishment because that I didn't want to be there, and it was I didn't like getting sent to the corner.
Well, no.
Because I also had to be quiet, and I was a very talkative kid. I'm still a very talkative person. So that was not fun for me. I've probably told this story before, but I'll tell it again for new listeners. There was a time my dad and I was 5, my dad and I were having a contest of escalating insults. We were mostly keeping it PG, and it was sort of progressing of like, well, I think you're silly. I think you're stupid. Well, I think you're a butthead. And I just went, well, I think you're an asshole. I don't quite remember, but I'm pretty sure my dad thought it was hilarious. But needless to say, I got put in the corner and promptly forgot about.
Borner in the corner.
The Borner got put in the corner and they forgot about
you.
I was there for like an hour and a half or 2 hours until I started crying, and I was like, can I come out now? They're like, oh shit, he's still there. So that was probably, I got grounded once. I don't even remember what I did. but I did get grounded one time, and PlayStation and computer privileges got taken away.
Oh,
I think
geez.
I was like 9 or 10, and it was like a week. I don't even remember what I did.
Really?
I have no idea what prompted that. Because I was generally a decent kid. I don't remember what I did wrong to get grounded. I'm sure it was something though. So yeah. Do we want to talk about the album now, I suppose?
Sure. We're gonna skip over talking about the beer.
Oh goodness, yeah, we have to talk about the beer. So we have Weihenstephaner. Weihenstephaner.
Gwen Stefani.
Gwen This shit's bananas.
Bananas.
Indeed. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Weihenstephaner, which is, according to the bottle, the world's oldest brewery. It does not say when it was established.
No.
But it is German. I believe it might be from the if you couldn't tell that it was German. It is brewed in Strasbourg, either that or Freising. Oh, bottled by.
Aha.
That's where it's bottled. Brewed and bottled. Same place, apparently. I think these are different subdivisions. So we got Bayerisch, Stats. Oh God!
Good luck.
Staatsbrouwery. Oh, Staatsbrouwery.
It's a state brewery.
Yeah, a state brewery. Weihenstephan, Freising, Germany.
Yes.
I wonder if those are all the different like subdivisions like they have in the UK, where it's like it's in Leeds, but it's technically like a suburb, and they call it has all these different names instead of just the one name, and then the
county, the subdivision, the town, the township.
They
block.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it is a very old country. So they've really gotten granular with it over time. Yeah, this is the beer. It's labeled original premium. There were other things there that I think there was like some wheat beer and stuff, but I generally don't like wheat beer.
No? You don't care for wheat beers.
I'm pretty sure I've tried it. I don't know. I don't know where else it would have come up with the idea. I don't like wheat beer. Kind of the same with pilsners. I'm not a big pilsner guy.
Really, not a pilsner fan.
I'm not a pilsner fan, or at least of the pilsner I've had. I've only had a couple of them, so I guess I'm not an authority on whether or not pilsner is good. But let's give this a try.
There we go.
It smells like beer.
Tastes like beer.
Yeah, it tastes like beer. There's something a little different about it.
A little bit.
I just can't quite. It's fairly heavy, I think. As far as the taste, I think it's a fairly clear, or
it's a very clean beer.
Yeah, it's not very dark. It's a fairly clean. It's beer. Oh, since 1040 is what it says.
Since 1040, really?
That's fucking crazy.
That's a long time.
That is a long time to make beer. That's damn near 1,000 years of making beer. They're 21 years off.
Wow.
I wonder if they'll put out a millennium beer in another 20 years.
1,000 years of making beer.
I have to wonder if it started off as like a monastery or something.
You would think so,
because they don't mention necessarily that it's like a Trappist beer or something.
No, it's not a Trappist. Clearly not.
Yeah, but I have to imagine, because back then that was typically who made alcohol.
The Trappists.
That was typically who made everything. Was monks and shit in monasteries, because they were the people that had time to like make fine things.
Like cappuccino.
Yeah. Although I suppose like mead was mead and wine, I suppose, were easier to make than beer, maybe.
Right.
Alcohol back then was probably pretty easy to make too, because they didn't have very high standards. They're like, the alcohol will kill shit. Not that they understood.
They had to drink the alcohol.
Not that they understood the concept of germs. They just knew that beer wouldn't make you sick, or at the very least wouldn't make you permanently sick.
Right. It'd make you sick if you drank enough of it.
Okay, so yeah, that's Weihenstephaner. Goodness,
okay.
Make it as hard as possible on us. Okay, so album. So like we said, it's Dimension Hatross by the Canadian band Voivod. This is an album that came out in 1988. Voivod was founded in 1982 in Jean. Oh boy, this is a
Speaking
tough.
of pronunciation,
This is a tough episode for pronunciation. Jonquière, Quebec, or Quebec. In Quebec, Canada. Sorry, any Quebecers out there.
is that what you call someone from Quebec?
Sure, that's
Quebecer?
what I call people
Quebecer.
from Quebec. Quebecer.
Not a Quebecian?
A Quebec is
Not
that doesn't feel
A
right.
Cubicite?
Well, because Quebecois would be the name of like the the dialect of French,
Sure.
but like yeah, Quebec. Yeah, Quebecer sounds. I don't know.
A fatback frog? I don't know.
Fatback frog. Someone from the Eastern Bay Area of the Hudson.
Yes.
At any rate, that's where these guys are from. They play what I would call progressive thrash metal. That's what I would call it, or at the very least, that's what this album is. I was doing some reading. Apparently, their earlier stuff was much more speed metal.
It was.
And then they started adding more sort of progressive elements. I would describe them, broadly speaking, as like somewhere on the continuum between Dream Theater and Gorguts.
Somewhere in there.
Gorguts, interestingly enough, also a progressive band from
In a different way.
yeah, in a different way. Well, not that different. There's also there's a fair amount of dissonant stuff in this album.
Well, yeah.
But a progressive band, I would say, also from Quebec.
Oh. I didn't realize Gorguts was from Quebec.
I think Gorguts is from Montreal.
Montreal.
So look at you. I'm an expert on all things Canada because my wife is Canadian. Show off. Okay, so before we talk too much more about like before we get into our segments here, you have a very interesting story about Voivod. if that's something that you want to tell on the podcast.
I don't know if I want to get into that on the podcast.
Okay,
I mean,
if you
it's
don't
an
want
interesting
to.
story about.
It was the past. You could say we were just making up a story.
How we got them too high to play on stage.
Well, so were you you were just there to watch, right?
Yeah.
You weren't playing with them.
No, we were in the audience.
Where was this?
This is in Minneapolis.
Okay, in Minneapolis. All right. I was gonna say, I wonder if there's like Voivod and Minot.
No, that didn't happen.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, can you hook us up? Can you do you have any yeah, hell yeah.
All right, dude. And apparently your shit was too good.
It was too good, yeah. It's because, it's Voivod. They're cool. They're big rock star famous people, so we rolled really, really big fat joints. Yeah. Next thing you know, Snake is on stage forgetting the lyrics.
How are they doing, as far as playing goes?
Good. It was fine. It sounded fine. And if you were just a lay person who'd never heard them before, you'd be going, "Oh, this is still pretty good."
Yeah, this is decent
They're
enough.
not fucking up. I mean,
Maybe if you really paid attention, you'd notice. But
Yeah.
because I'm thinking of like someone like Brent Hines from Mastodon, and like that guy probably plays better high.
Oh, of course.
Than he does sober.
And imagine these guys normally do.
Yeah, because I like. I don't know if Brent Hines is ever sober at this point when it comes to marijuana. It's an interesting man. At any rate, so yeah, I just thought that was an interesting story. So when did you like start listening to Voivod? What was your introduction to Voivod?
It was this album was my introduction.
Oh, cool.
That's why I picked this album.
Right on.
Right on. All right. Because it was back in this was a fairly new album at the time. It would have been 88 or 89.
Okay.
This is a guy named Jerry Sahosky gave me a copy.
It wasn't David Muffenbuyer.
No, it was not David Muffenbuyer. No, it was before I knew David.
Okay. So he
gave me a cassette copy of this album, and I loved it. Well, actually, no, I take that back. The first couple of times I listened to it, I thought it was too weird.
Really?
Yeah.
This was too weird.
At the time, yeah.
I suppose, yeah. How old were you at that point?
I was like 14,
Okay.
15 years old.
Okay. Yeah, I suppose if I was listening to this at 14, I probably would have considered it too weird as well.
Yeah, but then it really grew on me.
It seems like the album that would really grow on a young OJ, amongst the other things that grew on young OJ.
Yeah, fungus.
Like, yes, like fungus. Yeah. Or facial hair.
Or facial hair. Very, very thin facial hair.
It's continued to grow on you to this day.
It's a lot thicker now.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, so young OJ gets was this like your first like progressive album you listened to, would you say?
That wasn't my first progressive album. Man, I mean, because it's so nebulous. Genre is so nebulous.
Yeah, I suppose. This was one of the first like weird things. One of the first things with weird time signatures. Would you say?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
With weird time signatures.
All right.
That's your phrase for the day, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Yeah. No, that's cool. That's sick. Awesome, bro.
I got this one, and then I got their next album, which is Nothing Face.
Nothing Face, and that was mentioned, I think, on their Wikipedia page as being kind of one of their big like mainstream successes.
Right, that was kind of their breakthrough.
And that was only a year after Dimension Hatross.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only album of theirs to have entered the Billboard 200 charts, peaking at number 114. The band, this is just later stuff that would happen in their career. The band won the Visionary Award at the 2017 Progressive Music Awards. Their most recent studio album came out in 2018, September last year. So they're still around. They're still kicking. They're
Indeed.
still making music.
For a while there, Jason Newsted was their bassist.
What has he done?
He was in a band called Metallica.
Oh,
Yeah.
just his little band.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
well, that would
Flotsam
make
and Jetsam.
sense because Metallica is listed as one of their associated acts.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to note that Voivod is considered one of the big four Canadian thrash metal bands. I didn't know there were different categories
There's international
by
big
country
fours. Sure.
of the big four. I just thought the big four was just the American thrash metal bands that everyone knows. Metallica,
Right.
Slayer, Megadeth, Anthrax.
Uh-huh.
Like I thought those were the only big four for thrash metal, but there were others.
Mm-hmm.
The other Canadian big four include Sacrifice, Razor, and Annihilator.
I love Annihilator.
They're not a band I'm familiar with.
Really?
I don't think I'm familiar with any of the Canadian big four. So at some point, maybe some more, bring some more Canadian flavor.
We'll have to put it on our toque and give it a listen, eh?
Yeah. Speaking of Canadian flavor, how does
Yeah.
this album smell?
How does this album smell? This album, to me, smells like a freshly shaven dog.
Okay, very, very specific smell.
Mm-hmm.
I just got hooked on the idea that they were Canadian, so I put poutine.
It smells like poutine.
Yeah. Maybe absinthe. Because,
Ooh.
people say that if you drink too much absinthe, you'll hallucinate.
Mm-hmm.
And this album, kind of trippy. So,
Very trippy, yeah.
I'm going to change my answer to absinthe.
Can you make an absinthe poutine, I wonder? I wonder if that's a thing.
You could. I don't know if that would be good, because, like, where would the absinthe
I know.
go in there?
Would it be a part of the gravy, I suppose? Like an absinthe gravy?
Yeah, I don't know how you would make that.
Yeah, I
you
don't
wouldn't put it on the fries, because then the fries will get soggy.
Right.
So I really don't know where you could drink absinthe with your poutine.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
Because they make all sorts of different varieties of poutine.
I suppose they do.
And by the way, when you go to a poutine restaurant in Canada and you pronounce it poontang,
they probably don't care for that.
no, they glare at you.
I imagine they would.
Yeah.
I didn't know there were poutine restaurants. There were whole.
Yes.
I thought it was just sort of like a traditional side dish, rather than
It's a whole meal, man.
it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's got all the food groups.
I suppose. Yeah,
French fries, gravy, and cheese.
I don't know if I've actually had honest to God poutine.
Really?
I've had things that probably approximate poutine, but I wouldn't say I've had honest to God Canadian poutine.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I don't go to Canada though.
You're right here. It's like
I
a
know.
stone's throw away.
I know they are right here. I would need to go home and grab my passport though. My passport's at my parents' house because I haven't left the country since I was 19. So
Really?
4 years. Yeah. I haven't left the country since I went to my brother-in-law's bachelor party in Winnipeg. And we went to Winnipeg for his bachelor party entirely because I was 19. Which was very kind of my brother-in-law. But
So you could have a few drinks.
Well, because his logic was, well, yeah, we could like stay at home or rent a place or something like that and just get drunk by ourselves. But it would be nice to go out to the bar and party and shit.
Right.
And it'd be nice if Cale could come with us to do that because he's in the wedding party. So let's just make a fucking trip out of it and go to Canada. There's, it was the summer. It was nice. It's not like we were going to Canada in the dead of winter. So we went to Winnipeg, and it was late summer. It was I think it was late August. So it was still nice and warm. We went around to the park in Winnipeg, looked around, went and saw some movies. First time I went into a liquor store was, I think it was just called Liquor Mart or something.
Liquor Mart, yeah.
In
They're
Canada.
all state-owned in Canada.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It was very nice. It was just a big place. It's still probably one of the bigger liquor stores I've been in. And it was cool. It was just a big liquor store.
I saw the Pope in Winnipeg.
You saw the Pope in Winnipeg?
Yeah,
Which
I did.
Pope was this?
John Paul II.
Okay.
Yeah.
Suppose, yeah.
But,
when was John Paul II in his thing?
In his thing?
When was he in his thing?
When was he the Pope?
Yeah, when was he the Pope? When did he wear that silly hat?
I don't remember when his replacement took over.
Benedict was in the mid 2000s at some point.
Was it?
I think early to mid 2000s.
Yeah, because John Paul died.
Yeah.
In office.
Which is traditionally what popes do.
Right.
And then Benedict kind of broke tradition. It was
Right.
I'm tired of being pope.
It'd be funny if he said it just like that.
I'm done being pope,
I'm done
okay?
being Pope.
It's 2019. You don't need to... It wasn't 2019
No,
at the
it
time.
wasn't.
It was, 2013? Something like that.
I don't remember.
And he's just like, I don't want to be the pope anymore.
He's sitting in his Pope chair.
You don't need me. Everything is labeled Pope.
It's a quiet...
You have the Pope mobile. It's like Batman. It's like being Batman, okay? You have the Pope
Man.
mobile. You have everything else.
I'm just picturing him sitting in an empty room. Nothing's going on. It's dead quiet. All of a sudden you hear, fuck it.
I'm sick of this shit. These controversies, all that stuff. I don't want to do this till I die. Let some Argentinian guy do it.
I got bitches to plow.
Well, if it was, and I'm sure other popes since then have partook in that, but if it was like the 1400s, hell yeah.
Well, yeah.
Like all the popes back then were horny as fuck. Had multiple illegitimate children.
Sure.
I'm not sure if there's been a point in the Catholic Church where the Pope has been allowed to marry and have kids. I know there have been several junctures within the Catholic Church and also in certain countries where priests have been allowed to marry and have kids.
And rumor has it we had a woman pope at one point.
At some point.
Yeah.
It's possible. I don't know. When do you know what time period that was?
Like long time ago.
Probably, yeah. But none of this has anything to do with Voivod. So let's get back on track.
Okay.
OJ,
Yeah.
does it slap?
For me, it slaps.
I'm glad it slaps for you. I'd say it doesn't slap for me.
Okay.
I think my favorite song gets closer to slapping. We'll talk about what my favorite song is a little bit later, but generally speaking, I would not say this album slaps. That does not mean it's bad. We want to make this clear. Just because an album does not slap does not mean that it is bad. It's just the slap is a very specific feeling that an album has to give you. You can
Indeed.
still enjoy something without saying it slaps. Like, I enjoy The Tallest Man on Earth, right? His new album does not slap. Like
Well, you said last week's album didn't slap either. You said...
Did we?
Well, yeah. You said, I love this album, but it doesn't really slap.
I'm trying to remember what album we talked about last week, actually. What album did I bring last week?
It was, the hell was it? Oh, it was...
The Dillinger Escape Plan.
Yes.
I said it. I said it slaps, but simply because it slaps too hard. It slaps so hard, it hurts. It's a good slap, but only if you're into that.
Sure, and like you as a child with your spankings.
God damn it. Nice callback.
All right.
So yeah, a split decision on whether or not it slaps, but that's okay. So I was looking at scores. I didn't look terribly hard. There was some present information on the Wikipedia page for once that I looked at and sort of added those together. The general consensus seems to be 90%, so pretty goddamn good. At least for what was posted there. And it didn't have a Metacritic score, but I just went by the reviews that were on the Wikipedia page. So yeah, 90%, pretty good rating, and it's genuinely, I think, a very good album. We haven't gotten into too much detail. I guess we can get into it a little bit more now we talk about our favorite songs.
Sure.
So my favorite song was, what did I write down here? Chaos Monger.
Love Chaos Monger.
I think I liked that one simply because it was more speed metal than most of the rest of the album, but it still had the sort of progressive edge that I appreciate in a lot of stuff. It still had strange time signatures. It still had those dissonant notes every now and then, and I really appreciate those. I think they add a lot of flavor to songs like these, and I also appreciate speed and immediacy, and I really liked that out of Chaos Monger. Also, I think the name is badass.
Chaos Monger.
That's the name of a special character from Warhammer. It has to be. like Warhammer Fantasy, like I am Eric, Chaos Monger. And he's from Norska. He's a big chaos Viking.
He's got a big double-sided axe.
Yeah, big huge double-sided axe and just the scary looking plate armor and the whole deal. Chaos Monger. Very confident of him to put chaos in his name, being a servant of chaos.
Sure.
It's like, wow, I wonder what he's about. No question. So your favorite song, what'd you like?
I also like Chaos Monger. It's one of my favorite songs, but Tribal Convictions, I guess, is my...
Also a good one. Also one of the faster ones, I believe. So we're both tending towards speed here. Would you say we felt the need? The need for speed? Underground 2?
Is this
for the PlayStation 2?
I have a PlayStation 2.
I think I still do at home at my parents' place. I mean, I'm at home at my parents' home. It's still home to me.
Do you ever call it Mommy and Daddy's house?
No,
Never?
I don't know if I've ever called it that. Even when I was a child, I would have just called it my house.
Sure.
So no,
but that's where your mommy and daddy live.
That is correct, but I would not call it that. I would call it my parents' house, or my mother and father's house.
Your mother and father,
or my mom and dad's house.
Sure, but you would never say the word daddy.
No,
unless you were talking about a spider.
I would never say the word daddy unless I was doing my most committed Southern accent. And I especially would never, hey, daddy, how you doing, daddy?
Okay.
That's not my most committed Southern accent, but I like, that's especially the only time I would ever call my dad daddy.
Can I imagine the confused look on his face?
If I just came out and was like, daddy? Hey, daddy. And he'd look at me like, what the fuck? Why are you high? Why are you calling me daddy? Like, I think he'd be very confused because I never call him that.
No, I would hope not.
Yeah.
A grown man should never call his father daddy.
I would agree. Unless it's, the McElroys do that, but they're the McElroys, so they get to do...
They
get to do whatever they want.
Sure.
The tagline of their podcast is "Kiss your dad square on the lips." So... We're speaking of the McElroy brothers and my brother and me, a different podcast that's very good. You should listen to them.
Indeed.
Not instead of us, though. Listen to them in addition to us.
Right. If you enjoy podcasts like this one.
Has nothing to do with metal whatsoever,
No.
but very funny. Okay. So yeah, we both like Chaos Monger. I like that. Ooh, we're just blazing through it today.
Are we?
Yeah. Although I think you got here a little bit earlier than
I did get here early.
normal,
I get here
but,
about 10 minutes early.
But yeah, we're kind of blazing through it today, but that's okay. We can have a concise episode every once in a while.
Maybe you want wings there.
Yeah, I was about to say you were giving me a look. I was like, he wants wings. He wants wings now.
Because you said blazing.
I ordered pizza earlier today.
Did you?
I ordered some Papa John's and had some Papa John's.
I haven't had Papa John's in forever. Do they still give you the little pepperoncinis and the garlic dip?
I think so. I never used those, so I didn't look for them. But I believe those were both still in there. I also got some breadsticks, and they had some marinara come with it that I also didn't use, or not marinara, but like the pizza sauce or whatever that they put in there.
The marijuana sauce.
That would be. That's the fucking future, right?
Yeah.
Is you order a pizza and weed comes with it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Can you do that? In Colorado, can you order like an Uber Eats?
You used to be able to do that in Minot. I used to know no fewer than 3 pizza delivery dudes who would deliver weed with your pizza.
I'm speaking specifically about legal.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
That's great though, but legally, like I wonder if you were in, say, Colorado, if you ordered a pizza. Or not, if you didn't order a pizza, but like you say you got an Uber Eats or something.
Sure.
And you said, hi, I want you to go to Little Caesars, grab me $5 hot and ready.
Pizza.
And then go over to this weed shop and get me,
Give me some indica.
Yeah.
Give me some Maui Wowie.
Yeah, whatever you say. Get me surfing in a hurricane.
Yeah, there you go.
Jimmy Buffett's new weed brand.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, Jimmy Buffett's new weed brand is Coral Reefer.
Right.
Surfing in a Hurricane is
It's a variety.
One of the varieties. But yeah, and then I wonder if they would bring that to you. That'd be amazing.
That'd be great.
That's the future, people. That is where the 21st century is headed, and it's beautiful.
Be like, oh man, you ordered pizza? I'm not really all that hungry. And you'd be like, oh, you're about to be.
You will be. You will be. You will be. Yoda.
Yeah, indeed.
Yoda.
All right.
That is why I'm excited to go to Vegas in October.
Yoda,
yeah, that's why.
Oh, okay.
No, marijuana.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
I'm going to Vegas and gonna have some fun. Some
Sure.
legal fun. Some legal adult fun.
Are you gonna go to like the Chicken Ranch?
What's the Chicken Ranch?
What's the Chicken Ranch?
I don't know what the Chicken Ranch is.
Whores.
Oh, no. I do have a funny story though related to whores in Vegas.
That's got to be a good story.
It is not a personal encounter.
Oh, okay,
though,
all right.
Unfortunately,
My
dad, my uncle, and I. The only time I've been in Vegas as an adult, I was not yet old enough to drink or gamble, unfortunately.
But you were an adult.
But I was an adult. We were in Vegas, and we were at the Bally's Hotel and Casino. And we were at the little coffee shop there and standing in line waiting to get some coffee for both ourselves and then my aunt and my mom. And while we were standing there, we were talking to this guy in the line behind us, and my dad and my uncle were talking to this guy in the line behind us, and we were talking about where we were from, what we were doing, and this guy, I was talking to him a little bit, and he mentions, hey, if you get a hooker for him, pay an extra $10 and make sure it's actually a woman. It's like, wow, dude. Wow.
You throw in the extra bucks, it comes with a vagina.
I like how I don't like how you used it there too. Really, really, really just dehumanize them, OJ. really just make him into an object.
When I said it, I meant the experience.
Sure,
I meant
sure.
The deed.
Okay. Sexist. Raging sexist.
Not being
Look
sexist.
here at this raging.
Now he's poking at me.
I'm poking at you. You're a raging.
Okay, Mr. Pokemon.
I was trying to think of the fancy term for being a sexist related to a female. Misogynist.
Misogynist.
Look at this raging misogynist over
said
here.
He-Man woman hater. But
What'd you say? He-Man woman?
He-Man woman hater.
He-Man. Hi, I am He-Man, woman hater. I despise all women.
Well, that was the name of the club from the Little Rascals. The He-Man woman hater club.
I did not know.
Yeah.
I've not seen Little Rascals.
Yeah, back in my day, we had this program. It was called
Little Rascals. And they hated women. Apparently.
They didn't want to let Darla into their club.
As young boys, as young boys do. They don't. Little boys don't like girls, it would seem.
Mm-hmm.
Later they learn. Some of them.
Some of them.
Some of them like boys, and that's okay.
Yeah, which is fine. And then they grow up to be prostitutes that
God damn it.
In Vegas.
No, don't even. No, stop. I know where you're going. I'm squashing the bit. Squashing it there.
Right, fine.
right. Okay, so final thoughts on Dimension Hatred. Dimension Raptures.
He hasn't even finished a whole beer. And
I had a different six pack that I did have a couple of, but it's not nearly as heavy as this one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one I think would be a light beer.
Right.
But this one is 11.2. Wait, no, this is 11.2 fluid ounces. Sorry.
5.1% alcohol.
Okay, that's not that heavy.
No.
Anyway.
11.2. Well, I've had some 11.2% alcohol.
Yeah. At any rate, what are your final thoughts on Dimension Hatross?
My final thoughts on this.
Well, let's explain the categories. We have did not place, we have bronze, we have silver, we have gold. Final thoughts before you get to your placing.
Final thoughts. This album changed the game for me in my youth. It was an important moment in my life.
Sorry, I'm stretching a little bit.
Oh, you're strong.
My arms.
He made a weird
sore.
face.
My arms are sore.
He took a drink and then his weird like, what's wrong with the beer?
Ignore me. This was a game changer for you.
It was sort of like Kale's face just then. Changed the game. The game in the podcast here. It got me into liking different things. Actually, this led me into getting into other progressive. I actually started listening to Rush after listening to this.
Okay, interesting.
I moved on to different things like Celtic Frost.
No. No.
You refuse to say it that way.
It's Celtic. It's Celtic Frost.
You mean like the Boston Celtics? The
Where
basketball team?
are they? Where are they from?
They're Swiss.
They're Swiss.
Yeah.
What the fuck do Swiss people know about how Celtic is pronounced?
I don't know.
Well, I suppose Switzerland probably would have been Celtic territory at some point.
Possibly.
They used to the Celts used to control one tribe or another controlled most of Europe.
Right. The Celts were spread out a bit. You know, the Celts. I just say it that way because it steps on your nerves.
I know you do, and I still let it happen every time. It's never going to change.
All right.
So this album is responsible for you liking that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. So what medal would you give it?
Honestly, I'd only give it a silver medal.
Okay.
I'd give it a silver medal.
Why would you give it a silver?
Because it's a little too disjointed.
Okay.
In places they could have done a better job with that, but other than that, I loved it. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, I also really enjoyed this album. I'm also giving it a silver. This album was not a game changer for me. I've heard plenty of progressive metal in my time, but
this was probably a game changer for a lot of the people who changed your game.
Yes,
yeah.
I would say so. Excuse me. Had to swallow after I burped, and that took me a second to do.
It's okay. You're okay.
It's all right. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
honey, all you have to say is to the world, you may be just another girl.
Oh, God.
But to me,
you are the world?
baby, you
All right.
are the world.
Yeah. Thank you.
We love you, Brad Paisley.
Yeah.
No, it's not a game changer for me, but I still very much enjoyed it, and I can recognize its place in the halls of metal history.
In the pantheon.
In the pantheon of progressive metal lies Voivod.
I'm also giving it a silver. I think for me, the reason I would give it a silver is it's not quite refined. I kind of wanted more out of the vocals, I'd say, because I was thinking of it as, sort of a slightly, a heavier Dream Theater in some ways. But I also wanted that to be reflected in the vocals a little bit more. As much as I like to make fun of James LaBrie every once in a while,
Sure.
There were times where I was thinking, man, it would be interesting to hear, LaBrie's take on this, because he is genuinely a pretty good singer.
Sure. Snake is not a great singer.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Snake a great singer. I wouldn't say he's a bad singer, but he is a very sort of relaxed, sort of laid back style, which I think works fine for what they're doing. I wanted a little bit more from it, but I'm still giving it a silver because I think it is very entertaining. There was never a point when I was listening to the album where I thought, I don't want to listen to this.
Right.
There have been other albums that I've liked where I've listened to and gone, I don't want to be listening to this anymore. There was not a point on this album where I had that thought. So, yeah, silver. Silver medals all around,
Indeed.
everybody. Melt them down, make them into bullets, and kill you some werewolves. That's what you can do with this album.
Melt it down.
Voivod kills werewolves.
There you go.
It's
That's
official.
What we concluded. Out of all this entire hour, if you're going to take anything away from it, Voivod kills werewolves.
Yes.
That's what you should...
If you've got a werewolf problem, call Canada. They'll know what to do.
Quebec.
Well, Quebec is in Canada. They wouldn't like to be. They don't like being in Canada.
It's funny. They don't want to be in Canada, but they still want to be in Canada. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
They want to be independent, but they still want the monetary system and the healthcare system and everything else.
They want all the good
the
things about.
protection,
They want all the good things about being in Canada, and
without having to be in Canada.
Yeah, it's kind of like kind of somewhat similar situation with Scotland and just the UK in general.
Yeah,
as far as the EU goes. Anyway, I think we can wrap it up.
Sure.
So if you like this sort of thing, check us out on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, just Bronze Metalist. We are on, I think it's Bronze Metalist Podcast, actually.
Yeah.
We're on Twitter also. You can look for us there. And you can retweet our posts, share our posts, let your friends know that this is something you like. Recommend us in person to your friends. Do some guerrilla marketing, steal your friends' iPhones and subscribe them on their podcast app to our podcast, as one of our listeners has done to people.
Thank you,
Josh. Yeah, those are there's a multitude of things you can do to help us out and spread the word, because we'd love to have more listeners. And yeah, we don't make any money on this, but it'd be nice if we did. So help us out that way. At any rate, thanks for listening to another episode. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.